Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhadajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtotar Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtotar Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Okay, we will be on page 395 tonight. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this first day of July 2024 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are studying chapter 9, The Most Confidential Knowledge, text 14 on page 395. Satatam Kirtayanto Mam yatantash cha dvidha vrataha namasyantash chamam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dvidha vrataha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dvidha vrataha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. Oh, that one is correct. Why don't you check? It might tip over. All right. Page 395. Okay. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dvidha vrataha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. Anyone over here want to try it? Babu? Haribo? I guess not. Go ahead. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dvidha vrataha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. Anyone online? Tapas, I know you're out there.
Chat Prabhu, can you go ahead?
You want me to keep going?
No. Bhakta Chat is online with us.
Okay, Chad, go. Bhakta Chad?
Maybe he's not there. I'll chant.
Good.
Satatam kirtayanto mam
Satatam kirtayanto mam
jatantascha driha vrata
natantascha vidha vrata
namasyantascha chamam bhaktya
namasyantascha mam bhaktya
nityayukta upasate.
nityayukta upasate. Okay.
Satatam kirtayanto mam
Satatam kirtayanto mam
yatatantascha drita vrataha
yatantascha dvidha vrataha
namasyantascha mam bhaktya
namasyantascha mam bhaktya
nityayukta upasate.
nityayukta upasate. Okay, word by word. Satatam, always, kirtayantaha, chanting, mam, about me, yatantaha, fully endeavoring, cha, also, dvidha vrataha, with determination, namasyantaha, offering obeisances, cha, and mam, me, bhaktya, in devotion, nityayukta, perpetually engaged, upasate, worship. Translation. Krishna says to Arjuna, always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So before we go to the purport, I'm just going to read the translation from the previous verse. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine energy, the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. And these are the mahātmās who he just described. Purport to text 14. The mahātmā cannot be manufactured by rubber stamping an ordinary man. His symptoms are described here. A mahātmā is always engaged in chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord Krishna, the Personality of Godhead. He has no other business. He is always engaged in the glorification of the Lord. In other words, he is not an impersonalist. When the question of glorification is there, one has to glorify the Supreme Lord, praising his holy name, his eternal form, his transcendental qualities, and his uncommon pastimes. One has to glorify all these things. Therefore, a mahātmā is attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who is attached to the impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord, the Brahmajyoti, is not described as a mahātmā in the Bhagavad Gita. he is described in a different way in the next verse. The Mahatma is always engaged in different activities of devotional service, as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing and chanting about Vishnu, not a demigod or a human being. That is devotion. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, and Smaranam, remembering him. Shravanam means hearing, Kirtanam means chanting about Vishnu, which is another name for Krishna. Such a Mahatma has firm determination to achieve, at the ultimate end, the association of the Supreme Lord in any one of the 5 transcendental rasas. I'll explain what those are in a minute. To achieve that success, he engages all activities, mental, bodily, and vocal, everything, in the service of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. That is called full Krishna consciousness. In devotional service, there are certain activities which are called determined, such as fasting on certain days, like the 11th day of the moon, Ekadashi, and on the appearance day of the Lord. All these rules and regulations are offered by the great acharyas for those who are actually interested in getting admission into the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the transcendental world. The mahātmās, great souls, strictly observe all these rules and regulations, and therefore they are sure to achieve the desired result. As described in the 2nd verse of this chapter, not only is this devotional service easy, but it can be performed in a happy mood. One does not need to undergo any severe penance and austerity. He can live this life in devotional service, guided by an expert spiritual master, and in any position, either as a householder or a sannyasi or a brahmachari. In any position and anywhere in the world, he can perform this devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus become actually a mahātmā, a great soul. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. Page 395. 395. Hare Krishna. Welcome, Antonella. So Krishna is describing here, I think it's clear, the Mahātmā. And throughout the Bhagavad Gita and the other shastras that we read, one of the main ways of teaching is by contrast. If you think about it, that's really an important aspect of teaching. This is good, this is bad. Why? Because of these contrasting qualities like that. So we go back to text 11, and Krishna is describing those who are not Mahātmās. These are those who deride him when he appears in the human form. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. And then he continues to describe them. There's a long purport here because Prabhupada is fighting with the Mayavadis, as he often does. And what's the result of their deriding Krishna and not accepting him? Moghasha. The word mogha means baffled or defeated. So that's the theme here. Moghasha, mogha karmano, mogha jnana vicetasa. Those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demoniac and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. So this is self-defeating. This is kind of a good word for our situation in the material world. There's no reason why we're here other than our own activity. We can't blame anyone else. This is the Krishna's absolute justice. We decided to go it alone, to compete with Krishna rather than to serve Krishna. But it's very encouraging to know that all of us are ultimately residents of the spiritual world. The whole point of Bhakti Yoga is to revive that pure consciousness that we had there, and then to return. Prabhupada's famous phrase, to go back home, back to Godhead. So obviously, that means that we were once there. Why did we leave? Not very smart. Wasn't a good idea. But it's described in many, many verses. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we just had a class by Narantara Prabhu on Sunday night. Some of you were here. And he quoted a verse, which I know pretty well. He says, Krishna buli se jiva nadi bahimukha ataheva samsara deya dukkha. I think I got it mostly right there. Krishna buli se jiva. By wanting to compete with Krishna and to enjoy like he is as the supreme enjoyer, we have to forget him. We have to turn away from him. Because we know he's the supreme enjoyer. So if we're going to compete, we have to enter into an illusory consciousness that we are the controller, we are the enjoyer. So that's Krishna Buli says anadi bahim, and it's anadi. Anadi means not literally beginningless, but so long ago that it's some time immemorial. That was Prabhupada's phrase. But according to this verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita and Srila Prabhupada's purport, our life in this material world does have a beginning. And because it has a beginning, it can also have an end. So that beginning is our desire. Now we should know that there are countless other living entities who never leave the spiritual world. They're there, they're in tune with Krishna, they're in one of the 5 rasas, and that was mentioned, so let me just quickly mention those. These 5 rasas are similar to what we find in the material world. A rasa was defined by Bhaktisiddhanta as a mellow, but that doesn't, then you really have to explain what that means. First of all, mellow, if you look it up in the dictionary, is only an adjective, it's not a noun. So, but if you think, what it is the feeling, the emotional pleasure that comes from relating to others or even to inanimate things. The thing, in relation to inanimate things, that all has a rasa name, Shanta Ras. Like Krishna's flute is in Shanta Ras. It doesn't actively serve him, it waits for him to use, you see? Very important, there, fully conscious. So, but then you find the land is like that in Vrindavan. Everything is fully conscious in the spiritual world. There's nothing dead, nothing unconscious. So the land is also serving Krishna. The land is in this relationship, serving him and getting blessed by his footprints, fully conscious. So, but the main rasas you find with his friends, those are his friends, right? He has his coward boyfriends. He has his parents. That's another very important ras, parental ras called vatsalya. And of course, conjugal ras, which is the loving, relation with the gopis. And when you go to Dwarka, he's married to over 16,000 queens. There's that conjugal element. So the pleasure that comes by the exchange of these rasas, that's called the mellow. That's the unlimited source of pleasure there in the spiritual world. So we didn't want to be part of that situation anymore, so we came here to try to enjoy, be center of our own rasas. And so we have those relationships here. We have friends, we have parents, we have children, we have lovers, we have wives, husbands, like that, right? And so many things that we bring into our service, which are in Shantaras, just waiting, the phone is just waiting for you to put your thumbs on it, right? A lot of relationship with inanimate things. So one who thinks, the impersonalists, and that probably he has a lot to say in the previous purports, that the impersonalists, they don't accept the personality of Godhead and all these rasas. They think that the ultimate reality and source of everything is Brahman, the white light, you see? And indeed, that's what it says in the Vedanta Sutra. The Vedanta Sutra is like a very concise. The sutra is like a little aphorism. The first one is Atato Brahma Jigyasa. What does that mean? Atato Brahma Jigyasa. It says, now, therefore, you should inquire into Brahman. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Jigyasa means you should be curious about. When you think about it, our life is a different series of turning our attention to different things. Things that are pleasurable, we can enjoy. Things that are frightening, we want to get away from. Right? It's all this. So it says you have to turn your attention and be inquisitive, having become a human being, into the source of everything. This is the definition of Brahman given in the second sutra. Janmadyasya yataha. Janmadyasya yataha. Means that from which everything is born. Janma is born, like Janmashtami, right? So that which is born, and the word adi is there. Every syllable counts in these sutras. Janmadi, adi. Adi means etc. So in material things, everything has an origin. You just look around this room. There's one point when it didn't exist in this form. It was like the raw materials were out there or something, But by the application of intelligence and human beings, we have pillows, we have pillars. That's pretty good, pillars and pillows. And we have, the structure itself and this artwork. All this means that there was an application of intelligence and, of course, here devotion to create this atmosphere. So that's what creation is all about. But and then it stays. This building has been here it's been here for, 60, 80 years now, because it was part of the military in World War II. There was a whole military thing here in San Diego, And then it became a warehouse. I think it became a movie theater for a while, So it had different functions, but it was still going on, right? But at a certain point, as we all know, there may be an earthquake or just, the earth wearing out and being destroyed by time. It will eventually not be here. So everything that's created is sustained for some time, and then it goes out of being. Sometimes that's very quick. Like there are certain flies, or insects in India. Their whole lifetime is in one day. They take birth during the morning, and then they pair up with others, and then they have sex, and then they give birth, and then the child is born in the evening, and then he wakes up and the parents die, and that's the whole thing. So our lifetime may be 75, 80, 100 years at maximum, as human beings in this age. So whatever is born must die. And meanwhile, it's being sustained, you see. You go through these different stages. There's birth. Every parent knows this. Birth, growth, right? And then there's a period of sustenance. And then you have byproducts, children as human beings. And then there's old age and decay, and then eventually you disappear, die. But the soul doesn't go through those things. Only the bodies, So, but in the spiritual world, there's no distinction, meaning that Krishna is pure spirit. There's no soul of Krishna. He's all soul, and we are also like that. We have a spiritual body, which doesn't decay, because we're in our swarup. Swarup means your actual rupa, your actual form, your original form, which just fits your rasa with Krishna. It may be a form of a cowherd boy. It could be a cow. He really loves those cows. Could be one of the myriad cowherd girls, or an elder. You can't be Yashoda, but you can be like Yashoda. You can be in that same mood. She has so many friends who also love Krishna, like in the parental ras. So all of that is out the window with the impersonalists, because they deny that the ultimate situation of the soul, the best situation, is this world where there's a personality of Godhead with senses, and with ultimate all these relationships and rasas with all these. They deny that. They think that when Krishna comes, yes, he came, but he was a manifestation of Brahman in the physical form. It's all very offensive, actually. So back to our verses here. So when he gets to text 13, 12 is Krishna is describing the result of those who deride Krishna's personal form and are basically impersonalists. Then everything is bewildered, everything is frustrated. Moghasha means your hopes for happiness for these people are frustrated. Those who are thus bewildered, attracted by demonic and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruit of activity, the culture of knowledge are all defeated. On the other hand, when you see the word tu in Sanskrit means, nice to see you, Nelson. Tu means on the other hand, or but. But the mahātmās, those who don't deride Krishna but are actually great devotees of Krishna, mahātmās tu mam parta daivim prakritam ashrita, they take shelter of the daivi prakriti, the divine energy. And that energy is personified by Srimati Radharani. She's the goddess of all the service that we perform. You see, she knows how to please Krishna best. And if we're inspired by that same mood, then we can also learn how to please Krishna. And the easiest way in this world, chant his name. Just like if someone is chanting our name, suppose this door is open, and I walk by on some errand and I hear, oh, Dravida, Dravida, Dravida. Oh, what are they saying? Are they saying something good or something bad, right? And if I hear that, oh, he's so intelligent, I'll be very pleased. So similarly, when Krishna knows that he's in our heart, he knows exactly. Oh, I'm sorry, I was rushing over to get her. I didn't. But time out for finishing my. Okay. So there's a verse in this. There's always a verse. The second chapter, first canto. Shinvatam sukata Krishna punya shabana kirtana. Ridyandaksto abhadrani vidunoti surit satam. So this means Shinvatam sukata Krishna. When Krishna knows, by he's in our heart, he knows exactly what's going on. That we're hearing about him with interest, with favor, not just to figure out ways to, deride him. But he knows our heart. In other words, we're interested in hearing him, we're hearing it with relish. Shinvatam swakata, his own kata, Krishna, punya shavana kirtana, which brings piety just by hearing and chanting. This is the blessing of this age. This age was so disqualified. Right at the beginning of Bhagavatam, first chapter, 10th verse, I think, it describes the trouble we're in the Kali Yuga. Prayena alpayasha sabya, kalabasman yugayena, manda sumanda matayo, manda bhagya yubadita. The word manda is there, it's insignificant. But the first thing is prayena, for the most part, almost always. Then it applies to all these qualities. We don't live very long. Our habits are irregular, the food isn't what it was, and all of the craziness going on. And so 100 years is very long, 70, 75, and which is nothing compared to previous ages. Just in the Dwapara Yuga, it was 1,000 years, and before that it was 10,000, before that 100,000 years. You can imagine how calm and wholesome everyone was eating vegan, and cow slaughter. So anyway, that's the first thing. Alpayasha, small longevity. Manda, lazy in the matter of spiritual matters. Even though that's the most important thing, Atata Brahma Jigyasa. You have a human form of life. Don't waste it. Every minute counts. In this form of life alone can you reawaken your relation with Krishna, with God, and make progress, go back to God. But no, manda, they're lazy in it. Sumanda matayo, and they're misguided. Maybe if you're interested in spiritual life, some cheater will come and tell you, yes, you can become God, and just pay me $1,000. They're out there. So that's another problem. Manda bhagya, because of this, they're unfortunate. Upadrata, always disturbed. So with all of these disqualifications, how do we ever have any hope of withdrawing our mind from all of the craziness and fixing it on the Supreme? That's where Lord Chaitanya comes in. Krishna comes as Lord Chaitanya to give us this easy process, no prerequisites. If I go and I want to go to a temple and start chanting the Vedas, they know I'm not born in India, even though I may be most Brahminical. So no. And even to this day, I can't get into the Jagannath temple, right? There's this whole thing, oh, you're not a Hindu. It's funny, we had a devotee named Brahmatirtha Swami, not Brahmatirtha Swami, Bhakti Tirtha Swami, sorry. Black body devotee, So he wanted to get into that temple, so he dressed himself up as a Hindu because he had a dark complexion and he was able to get in there. Whereas, if you know anything about America, back in the 50s, 60s, he couldn't get into a restaurant with white people, right? This is craziness. So, but Lord Chaitanya specifically says in his Shikshastika, Nam Namakadi Bahodani Sarva Shaktis Tatrabitani Yamatek Smadane Nakala. He says, my dear Lord, you have Krishna, Govinda, and Keshava too, your names have no end, and in each of them you have invested your potencies, leaving none out. Whenever we want, we can chant him without the slightest restriction of time or of place, or a person. I didn't have room on the line to fit that in. O Lord, who can fathom your infinite grace, but I am so wretched and devoid of all shame that I haven't developed a taste for your name. Lord Chaitanya is taking the position of a conditioned soul in this case. But the point is, there are no hard and fast rules for chanting. Anyone, come and chant. This is how Prabhupada spread this movement. It was predicted by Lord Chaitanya, Priti Vidyachayati Nadagaradi Gram Sarvata Pracharo Be No Moranam. This very important statement in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. It says, in all of the countries of the world, Priti Vitti means on earth, in all of the towns and villages even, my name will be chanted, he was saying. And this prediction was there. And even though Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he tried, he spread it throughout India. Great effort, amazing. He had like 64 mutts. This is a mutt. A mutt is a temple which also has an ashram attached to it. It's not, we don't call them mutts, but that's what it is. So he had all over India, and he had such competent, learned disciples. So he sent some of them, not to America, but to London, So naturally, they wanted to speak to the lords and the royalty. They didn't go to the hoi polloi, And so they made very little progress. They had 1 or 2 disciples, and they came back, spent a lot of money, a few years. So Bhaktisiddhanta was disappointed. But then at a certain point, he indicated that Srila Prabhupada will succeed. Yeah, there's some wonderful pastimes like that. So Prabhupada had that instruction from his spiritual master to preach in English, to go abroad, spread it. But he didn't see how he could do it, without any money and any help, So he tried to do it in India, but it didn't work out. Finally, at age 69, kind of elder, says, well, it's now or never. So he was able to beg a free passage from a very pious lady who owned the shipping line. And then that was, of course, the Jaladuta, means water messenger. And off he went on that boat. It was very difficult for him. He had a lot of nausea, seasickness, and a couple of heart attacks. But then Krishna had a dream after the second heart attack. He said, if it happens again, I'm finished, I'm dead. So Krishna came in the dream and said, don't worry, I've taken charge of the ship, and everything will be fine. And it was one of the many miracles in Prabhupada's preaching. The Atlantic Ocean, especially in the month of August, September, hurricanes. It's all over the place, Not just in the Caribbean where we know, but very rough seas. But it was just like glass. It was a very easy passage, And the captain's wife, who was with him on that particular crossing, she joked with Prabhupada, said, "Can you please come back with us? Because it was the smoothest crossing we've ever had, Anyway, so he comes to America, and he gets off the ship because it was such an austerity. He took a walk in Boston, then he came down to New York. And there he got back on the boat and wrote a poem, a very famous poem. Markani Bhagavad Dharma means Krishna consciousness in America. Now it's going to be it. He's come to America. And it basically starts, oh, Krishna, why did you bring me to this horrible place? He just saw what was going on in the city, walking around, and he said, the modes of nature are very prominent, So famously he said, all right, you'll have to make my power of speech such that it will inspire them. You can do that. So he's very, very simple. And the famous line, it said, I am your puppet, so if you want, make me dance as you like. It's a very wonderful poem. And he's taking just this humble position, I'm in your hands, and if it's going to work, then you have to empower me. And he did empower me, but it was difficult, So Prabhupada was certainly a mahātmā, and you notice that the one we read today is Satatam Kirtayanto Mam, always chanting my glories. This is the great quality of this age, is that there's always a verse in the 11th canto right after the verse defining Lord Chaitanya as the avatar of the age. Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam Sango Pangastra Parshadam Yagyar Sankirtana Kirtana Praya Yajanti Hisumedasa. It's Krishna's, I think, that's 9 Yogendras. They're describing the avatars of the different ages, and they come to Kali Yuga. Who's in Kali Yuga age? So here's the description. Krishna Varnam. Now Krishna Varnam has two meanings. One is he belongs to the category of Krishna, like a Varna. The Varna is a group. The other one is he's always chanting those 2 syllables. Varna means syllables. Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hey, that's one of the mantras. And of course, Hare Krishna mantra. Trisha Krishnam, but his complexion is Akrishnam. Krishna's complexion is Krishna. Krishna means blackish too, right? But his is Akrishnam, golden, right? Sa anga upanga astra parshadam. He came with his angas, means his limbs. Those are the very close associates, like Nityananda, Advaita, and the upangas means the wider circle of his associates. You read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Chaitanya Bhagavad Gita. And his astra. Astra is weapons. Where's the weapons? Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda, there, where the hands were open. There's no weapons. The Hare Krishna mantra is a weapon. And his beauty is a weapon. With the mantra, he doesn't kill anybody. He doesn't kill any demons. Whereas Krishna killed so many demons. Ram killed Ravana and so many demons. But he kills the demoniac nature in the heart. In this age, the demon and the devotee are in the same body. So we have our demonic tendencies. You can read chapter 16 and you say, yeah, I've got that. I get too attracted to sense gratification. But Krishna, within our hearts, and by preaching the holy name, the demonic tendencies can be extirpated, can be purified. So the demons are killed in that way. So then it says, those who are intelligent, Sumedasa, will worship him by the main process of this age. Who can say? Yes, Sankirtan. It's Harinam Sankirtan of his holy name. And, there's something called Tauya Trikena, which I would assume most of you don't know, if any of you. Tauya Trikena are these three things. What is it? Singing, dancing, and playing musical instruments. Now those can be used for a lot of Maya. Think of the rock concerts, think of the raves, think of all the, bars, you go, whatever. So, but they can also be used for upliftment of the soul. When you're chanting Hare Krishna, the instruments are playing, the dancing is going on, and your voices are lifted. And that's the most powerful purifying process in an age. It's a process of meditation. We should always remember that you really want to benefit from the kirtan, just try to hear the holy name. Put everything out, because, the mind says, hey, we heard that one before, let's think of something else before. The material mind is always trying to wander away. But you bring it back, and you focus, and you find, it has so much potency. It's all the mind is everything in yoga. When the mind is full of all material desires and fears and all these, then the mind is the worst enemy. This is in the 6th chapter. Udaret atmanatmanam natmanam avasariyet atmaiva atmano bundur atmaiva viduparatmanaha. One should elevate himself by his mind, not degrade himself. The mind can be the best friend of the living entity or the worst enemy. The mind, which is full of all kinds of material desires and fears and anxieties, it can be a great source of suffering, internal suffering. But that mind, which has trained to be thought of Krishna and automatically is attracted when it hears some description of Krishna or his holy name, that's the purified mind. And that is our best friend. The gopis, sometimes, in their leela, there is so much trouble, to Krishna. He's leaving all the time, he's coming back, we can't see him enough. And so they say, we're trying to forget you, but we can't. The gopis can't. Their mind is always running to Krishna. That's their purity. So that's what we want to do, get to the point where the mind automatically thinks of Krishna, because we've purified it of all of the other attractions and all of the mind is very complicated. But the process of devotional service beginning and centered on this chanting can make us all mahātmās, And whenever we want, and so many beautiful shlokas, there's the Hare Krishna mantra, but Lord Chaitanya showed, you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, so many beautiful descriptions. I remember descriptions of the holy name. And don't forget, the holy name is not different from Krishna. The holy name is a person. When you glorify the holy name becomes pleased. And then it's easier for you to chant. You get more pleasure from chanting. So Rupa Goswami, who's our main acharya, after the disciple of Lord Chaitanya, he and his brother Sanatan, he wrote in his Vidagdha Madhava, which is a beautiful play, Krishna's Leela in Vrindavan. And there's some quotations in the 1st chapter of the Anchal Leela, Chaitanya Charitamrita. And this verse is very famous. How is he experiencing the holy name? So he says, Tunde tanda banira ting batanote tundavali labdeye Karna Krodha Kadam Mani Gatayate Karnarbhude Vyakspiham Chetak Prangana Sangini Vijayate Sarvendriyanam Gutim No Jane Janitaki Yadbidamitai Krishneti Varna Dvahi. There's that word Varna for syllables, see? I do not know how much nectar these two syllables Krishna have produced. When I chant them within my mouth, I taste. I want to have millions of mouths and tongues to relish that taste. Tunde tundavali. And when they enter into the ear, I want to have thousands of ears to relish that sound. Karna krodha kadamani gadayade karnarbhutek, these millions of ears. And when they enter into the chamber of the heart, then all the senses become stunned in ecstasy, and I become completely enthralled with Krishna. So this is the kind of expressions that can really enliven us in our devotional service. And so many wonderful descriptions of Krishna. And I remember, when I studied the Chaitanya Charitamrita, I had the great opportunity in the first printing in '75, there was a marathon. The books weren't coming out fast enough. Prabhupada was coming every night. He would get up at 1 in the morning or 12, and he would, translate. He would dictate at that time because it was so quiet. He didn't have to worry about management and something. So he produced all of these manuscripts and tapes. He would, but they weren't getting printed. The books weren't getting printed fast enough. And I was part of the crew that was helping to produce the books. So Prabhupada decided to consolidate the whole BBT operation, book production, in LA. The production was going on in Brooklyn and New York, and the printing and the distribution center was in LA for a long time. They had this big truck, a big semi, and this devotee named Jambavan. He would drive it all over the country and deliver to the different temples the books and go back to LA and pick up some more. So Prabhupada decided, well, it's too slow. So we come to L.A. And the artists, beautiful, wonderful artists. We had Dhriti here, one of the most famous artists from that time. She touched up the deities, because after months and months they get, little irregular. So she's beautiful, beautiful art she produced. So they were all there, and Prabhupada, I'm not going to tell the whole story, but they thought that, well, all right, they took them 12 months to produce 4 books, 4 books with the 4th canto, which is way too slow. So Ramaswamy was in charge, and Radhabalva, they were the managers, and said, okay, we got to figure it out. We could do 2 books a month, which is quite an increase, rather than 4 books a year. So they told Prabhupada, and Prabhupada, he was walking on the beach, Venice Beach, so he would take a walk every morning for his health and everything. And he put this cane in his sand, his cane in his sand. You have to produce all 17 books in 2 months. 17 books. And what could Ramaswamy say? Prabhupada, that's impossible. And Prabhupada looked at him, said, impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary. And then he continued with the war. And so that was the challenge, you see. And so anyway, it was mobilized. Anybody who could read, anyone who could do indexing or typesetting or editing, they found in the United States. They flew him into LA. I was already there because I come from Brooklyn. Anyway, to make a long story short, everything was mobilized. There was this one lady who joined. She had been a nun, and she joined as a young lady in New York, and she knew the meaning of austerity, She would type practically throughout the night. I was sleeping in a building that was right adjacent to the building where she was working in, and she would always be typing. I have to put earplugs in, It was amazing. Anyway, so we were actually able to do it. And here I am 2 years in the movement, after just, ordinary Western upbringing. And here I am working on the Antya-lila of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. These chapters, 13, 14, 15, and 17. Those are the chapters I edited in the CC. And there were some also in the 5th canto that hadn't been done. The hellish, the chapter about hell, all those descriptions in the end of the 5th canto. Pretty hair-raising. I'm working, it's 11 o'clock at night, and if you do this sin, then you have to, oh my gosh, a million years. Anyway, it was quite an experience. But I feel very much blessed. And then 20 years later, I got to go through the whole, because it was done so fast, there were obviously mistakes, So I got to go through the whole CC and correct any of the mistakes that were made. So I was very blessed. I still feel blessed by it. So that Satatam Kirtayanto Mam, that was shown by all the great acharyas, always taking the opportunity to chant, and with great determination, drita vrata, endeavoring really to spread the movement. That's, the amazing. And namasyantastam, always offering their obeisance to me, maintaining their relationship. Nitya yukta upasate. In this way they worship me and they're always linked to me. This is the character of the mahātmās. And that satatam kirtayanto mam, that's important because that's can be seen as this is justifying the Hare Krishna, chanting, always chanting. And Prabhupada, he was either chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, or he was meeting with professors or journalists and speaking about Krishna, or he was giving classes, or he was dictating his book. He was always glorifying Krishna. He showed this. And he was always in a very blissful and wonderful state of consciousness. So this is possible for us also. All right, we start a little late. If there are any questions on this verse, Satatam Kirtayanto Mam, this whole chapter is very important. It's the most confidential knowledge. It ends with a verse that is repeated, practically word by word, in the 18th chapter, which summarizes what bhakti is. You want to achieve success in this life? Manmana, Krishna speaking, Manmana, Bhavamad Bhakto, Mudjaji, Mam Namaskuru. Mame Vaishasi Satyam Te Pratijane Piyosime. In the 18th chapter, he promises this to Arjuna. In this chapter, he just says, link to me this way, you will certainly come to me. So what does it mean? Just think of me, become devoted, worship me and bow down low. You'll come to me, O friend, I promise you this boon I shall bestow. And then in the 18th chapter, he gives the ultimate final instruction of the Gita. Give up all dharmas and just surrender only unto me. Your sins I'll nullify, O Arjun, from anxiety be free. In this mudra, you see, Radharani, when we open the curtains, this is Abhay Dan, the gift of fearlessness. She's saying, you just love us, chant our glories, worship, become purified, everything will be taken care of. And you'll get out of here, get out of the material world, and take as many people as we can with us. That's the whole movement. All right, any comments, questions? Yes, Antonella.
Hare Krishna. So I was wondering, the impersonalists, do they list any reason why there are impersonalists? I mean, to me,
they don't
intuition makes sense. I mean, I thought I was Buddhist one time back in the days, and it's a different story. But anyway, by intuition, I came to this because it seems more, I mean, even without believing blindly, by intuition, I think Krishna makes more sense. So what do they say? If they say anything.
There's a purport. I'll refer you to a verse. Could probably go through it. In the 4th chapter, text 10. You read that purport, and the basic reason is that there's various categories of people who don't come to Krishna. They're blocked. The vast majority are materialists. They're too much attached to exploiting this material and enjoying. And the very idea of giving up, meat eatings, and illicit sex and intoxication, gambling, that's their life practically. When Prabhupada sent those emissaries to England, there was, I always forget his name, one lord, and he asked, because he knew about India, he wanted to become a Brahmin. So he asked one of Bhaktisiddhanta's representatives, can you make me a Brahmin? He said, sure, why not? You just follow these rules. You give up illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, and meat eating. And he said, impossible. That's my life. That's my life. So this is the first category. But the impersonalists, they can be vegetarians. They're not like that. So what they're afraid of, because all they know is that when you have a body, it's this kind of body, and it's a source of suffering, and it's fallible. So therefore, they make the fallacious argument. Therefore, perfection must be without body, without senses. You see, they're afraid because they know a body means to them to this kind of body, and that's the main lesson. No, mukti, the definition of mukti given in 2nd canto is very simple. Muktir is this. Muktir hitpa anyata rupam svarupena vibhastati. In both lines you have the word rupa, which means form. Muktir hitva anyata rupam. These are all false forms. We've been growing up in this body, right? All of us were once 10, 12, 15, right? And each of those bodies are different. And this body is different from the one we had yesterday. You don't see it so much, but after a while you see it. So all this, and then the big one, you leave this body, you get another body. We've been doing it for millions and trillions of years. Who knows? So that's anyata rupa. That's other forms beside your swarup. You have one swarup. Each of us has a relationship with Krishna, and we have a form just suitable to express that relationship. It could be a cow. There's exalted cows. They have a wonderful, intimate relationship with Krishna. Or, we could be a coward boy, coward girl, parent like that. So then, and that's eternal. We're happy in that form, and it completely suits our mood with Krishna. You see, that's our surup. That's mukti. Not formlessness, not merging into the absolute and giving up, which is kaivalyam narakayate. Kaivalya means merging. For a devotee, that's going to hell. Naraka is hell. Why? There's no Krishna, there's no bhakti, there's just you, eternal existence. I am that I am. What's the enjoyment? I'm not dying, I'm not sick, I'm not getting old, But that's all negative. How long can you be happy like that? You need a relation, right? So that's the idea. But the Mayavadis are terrified of getting a form again because all they know is the material form. So they need to be saved. And in Lord Chaitanya's Leela, there's some very nice encounters. He always converts the Mayavadis. Prakashananda had thousands of Mayavadi disciples in Benares, and he converted them all. It's a wonderful story. Chapter 7. Probably that chapter was so important because there's extensive refutations of Mayavad philosophy in Adi Leela, chapter 7. And Lord Chaitanya meets these Mayavadis and he converts them. They say, well, what do you think the Vedanta Sutra is? So then he starts explaining it. And what is the end of Vedanta? Vedanta means the end of knowledge. It's Bhakti. Bhakti Vedanta. See? So he proved that, and they all got converted and became his disciples. So that's, we could have been in previous life, part of the personal group. Now we're trying to be Bhaktas. All right, we'll resume tomorrow. Thank you all for coming. Finally, we started out, we were a little ragged. I was late, and we had to do the thing was halfway back here. Anyway, Hare Krishna. Now we'll have a little kirtan and enjoy, really enjoy spiritual life.